Somewhere I read these lines that I don't know the key to success, but the key to failure is to keep everyone pleased with you, right? So in your life, if you think that everybody should be happy, everybody should be pleased with you, I think this is going to be impossible because your priorities, other people's priorities, your goals and their goals, your situations and their situations, everything is just pulls apart, right? So we can't expect everybody to be happy with us, everybody to be pleased with us. So if we are making efforts, if we are making every endeavor to keep people pleased with us, I think we are setting ourselves up for misery. This is going to leave us unhappy. This is going to somewhere, torture us. And we would always be wondering that what the problem is, why people are not being happy with me, why I always find people. There are some people who are always complaining. I also read somewhere that even though this moon is known for its beauty, but people will always be picking holes with it as well. So people are there will always be people who will always say something wrong about you. There will always be people who will always be picking holes in you. And this is the nature of the people and the humans. So if we are trying to keep people happy with us, so this is going to be impossible. So the topic we are going to discuss is stop pleasing others, right? Because this is somewhere going to leave you unhappy, and you will not be able to focus on your goals, and as a result, you will always be finding yourself to be unable to reach where you think you would reach there, right?
Right.
So across is sitting my friend Robin, and we both are going to discuss this topic, and we will try to reveal all those aspects which somewhere are important for people to know, and this is something which will let people know why people pleasing is going to be quite harmful, and this is not going to lead them anywhere. This is not going to take them anywhere, and they will not be getting a lot from people pleasing. So instead of being people pleaser, we should be trying to focus on our goals, and as a result, we would be doing justice to ourselves and our life. And if we don't do this, it will be a great disservice to this life, and we'll not be able to achieve anything in our life. Over to you.
Okay, good evening, first of all, and good evening to everyone. Since topic is pretty nice, but what makes it more befitting, we have seen that people are just consuming a lot of time in trivial things. And this is one of those things that we are dealing with today is that we are engrossed in pleasing others. And this takes a lot of time. This really, engulfs a lot of time, and somewhere it makes our life completely unproductive. So,
Yeah.
this is very important for everyone that how they could understand the value of time first. Second, that they should try to understand self worth. And third, most important thing, that everyone has a some limited time period, and this limited time period must be put into those, you know, reasons which are really important, which are really there to give you something as a result. So all these things are very important. And for this reason, we need to understand that why we should stop pleasing other. Because this stop pleasing, this displeasing as an exercise really takes a lot of time. It is not just taking your time, but also somewhere devaluing you within you as an existence.
Yeah.
Because when you go and support someone for no reasons, and you be just like a yes man, and then you not only lose your worth, but also you always are treated as a bootlicker,
Yeah.
as many people say. Moreover, people always find these peoples love to ingratiate with other to
Yeah.
gain personal favors, some personal advantages, and in this way it almost compromises with personal principles. those values. So, in many ways, if we can see it by throwing our glance, then we will understand that how uh, ineffective it could be, how completely unconstructive it could be for people to be pleasing other for 24 hours. So this is something which we will have to deal with in a more deeper way, so that we could enlarge this very point, and we can somewhere come to terms with this one idea which is very popularly accepted by most of the successful people, is that one who is going to be successful is the one who has learned about how the use of the timing could be bettered, right? So this is what we're going to learn through this video. This is what we're going to discuss through this video. Over to you.
Yes, so the thing we are going to discuss is as we know that we've got limited time on this planet, right? Someone did a survey and found out that we've got only one fourth of our life when we do something in our something productive in our life, because rest of the time we spend on different activities like personal hygiene activities, in sleeping, in finding things and returning calls, because this is we are living in technological world, so we have got a lot of time to spend on
Right.
different things, right? So we have got very limited time, and we should be realizing this fact that if we spend time pleasing other people, then where is the time for ourselves, right? So the thing we are going to discuss is, Robin, tell that how people can turn their time into productive ones without pleasing people. This happens when you go to offices where, especially in organizations where people work with other people, and they find that if they start bootlegging people, if they start ashlicking people, so this is somewhere going to put them into the good books, and they would be able to reach they would be able to climb the ladder of success. But this is, in my view, is not going to be possible. When you start bootlegging people, they think that this person somewhere lacks the desired or the required qualities, that there is, it means required skills, and that's why he or she is willing to ingratiate themselves into people, ingratiate themselves to people, and that's why they think that it is going to be possible for them to get the promotions or get the positions they are willing to have. So how this can be overcome? I mean, people fall into this kind of you know um, it's a kind of pit which they fall in if they are actually exercising certain kind of things. So tell me how people can get out of it, and why should they stop pleasing other people?
We need to first of all understand that this entire social system right now is bedrocked on certain things, certain ideas, which I think need to be revisited, so that things could be even more better. Because when we say that we need to stop pleasing other, and then we try to understand in the context of what happens in metro cities, what happens in MNCs companies,
Yeah.
and in some government offices, where newcomers enter this new group, the community, and people who are already get settled on some higher positions, they actually abuse their powers mostly. And when you as a newcomer, when we as a newcomer, as a new appointee, you know be a part of that company, we find that we are not given this level of acknowledgement, acceptance, even when we continue to do hard work, even when we display this next level performance. But just because of some people who are there and meeting with their own personal benefits and their own kind of businesses, they often play down others. Now, under certain circumstances, it's very likely that people like us are to be victimized in this way. And if we don't do that, we're going to lose the job, as what happens in most of the cases. The most honest people ever lived on earth right now can be said those who haven't compromised with their own principles, even at the cost of their own job, even at the cost of something they might have got, but just because of they didn't cope with these people, they didn't actually give the green signal to these things, activities happening in front of them, just because of they never found it, you know, coming terms to with them, right? So in that case, I thought, these people did it in their jobs, but can we do it? This is the question. Since we have to understand few things. First, that yes, people are with their responsibilities on their shoulders. Some people have the responsibilities for the family members, some people have the responsibilities and also need to meet with the expectations of other. Now this overburden, shoulders often, go and become highly susceptible to this kind of ambience, as we find it pretty hard. I mean, people are continuously doing a hard work even when they don't like it, even when they find that their overall existence, their overall presence is not that much welcomed in a certain, office, in a certain kind of, place, but still they continue to do that. Reason, that they want to earn money. They want certain, financial security, for which they always, throw their values out of the window, and they continue to suffer willingly or unwillingly, but they don't have any options other. So when we say this, we have to be little bit practical, because we cannot impose this very moral ideals on people even when they're not ready to accept it, because even we can take ourselves as a responsible people for our family. Even we can find ourselves to be going down under certain circumstances, because we cannot, handle and we cannot manage these certain circumstances. So what is there for us as an assistance? So therefore we need to look into this entire thing, and therefore the first thing that comes out, according to me, could be well, understandable, that we need to create a certain ambience first of all. And for this, people who are sitting top in the hierarchy must come on the forefront, and they have to treat other people in that way, and they have to respect them, they have to talk to them with all regard. In this way, this particular thing will infuse confidence in them, and perhaps this confidence will be sufficient for them to continue with their moral, continue with their, principles. But as it is quite unfortunate that we don't find these things of happening around us. Now this is one of those reasons why people cannot, you can say, manage certain conditions, and cannot, break a certain kind of environment by being an iconoclastic, because we find them that these people are overburdened with responsibility. Now, the second thing, which is very usual these days, as the competition goes up, we find that once you get the position first, that person using the power always tries to provide the larger benefit of his position to the kith and kins.
Yeah.
And this actually creates a certain environment, even if it is MNC or any certain office, government office, where most of the people come from the same background, come from the same family. And when one office becomes a house for a large number of people, and when new appointee like us enter the office, it's very likely that we are going to fall prey to all these people, because we don't have any support there for
Yeah.
us. We don't find any surveillance on us, which is looking after us. Even when we try to present our work in a more magnanimous manner, even then it is not, I mean, surety as a surety to you that you will be surviving there forever. Your job will be permanent to you. We have seen several such cases where even after giving a good performance, a person has to, face a certain kind of results that they have to be sometimes fired for without reasons. It is not just limited to this. We have seen these cases are happening, and very popularly, it's not a popularly but notoriously happening, such as in the sports of cricket, where we see that some, big mafias are running some entire business there, and they are the one who are becoming the selectors of the players, and they are doing it, these selections, for their own personal advantages. So these things are basically according to me, not uh, very easy to settle down. And for this, everyone has to come out understanding their respective responsibilities and need to chip in this so that we could create this positive environment for these people. Otherwise, under responsibility, I don't think so. I mean, how many people could come out victorious? Because at the end of the day, we have to look after our family.
Yes.
And in this world, whatsoever you say, there is nothing bigger than to take care of one's responsibilities for their own family members. So, even when you are willing to perform your duties or not, even when your all principles are at stake or not, if something is there, even not in your favor, you have to continue and perpetuate with the situation because you don't have other alternative and substitute for you as a working force, as an impetus force to you. However, people who are rich, powerful, they always have some alternatives, and therefore these people are very vibrant, firebrand in their own ways because they don't have any fear, any apprehension of losing any job, any personal financial security because they are initially very rich. They come from a certain background where they really don't seek any financial assistance to the people. I believe if anything as a situation could be created, yes, I'm talking a little bit an utopian word, but if it is possible that if we can provide or the government can provide a certain financial security in a permanent nature, as what is very popularly happening in abroad countries, then in these ways, I think people like us would definitely be sticking to their own principles and morals at the cost of anything. Because once they get the security for their own family members, it is very, likely that yes, they will be following all these things without having any dreading over what is going to happen with them in the next day. So all these things must be given a very due consideration, and only then we can expect that yes, these things could be made possible. But as far as the situation and this conditions which is now continues to persist, I don't think people could even come out and take a participation in this and even encourage other to be so. However, it can be done, but for this, we need to do a little more campaigning. We need to make people aware of what is important than what is needed. So, in this way, we can handle this, we can manage things up. Over to you.
Mm. What I have experienced and what I've observed, especially in my office as well, and I've worked with many people. As I've been working for almost 12 years, and I've experienced and observed that when a person tries to please other people, it is it is him or her that has to suffer a lot, right? So there are certain costs which has to be paid if you are pleasing others, like you'll be feeling low self-worth because your self-worth is at stake. And there is somewhere mental turmoil as well, because uh, people who you are trying to please can say anything to you, and that can somewhere erode your confidence, erode your personality, and that is going to cost you very dear, right? And if we talk about, there are certain other things like emotional health is also going to be affected, right? And somewhere we find that you don't actually enjoy, and somewhere you start doubting yourself, you start doubting your potential, start doubting your you can say you are not being that much confident of your skills, right? And that's why you think that it is the only thing which can help me meet my own ends. So now tell me, you would shed some light on these things, that what is the cost that is to be paid when a person tries to please others, and how they are somewhere kind of compromising with their own principles.
You rightly said one thing, and which I totally agree to, is that if something there is at stake and which is highly expensive, that is self worth.
Yeah.
So when someone comes to be with this kind of attitude and enters any community in order to gain certain favors, and be in disguised in this way and try to come and be a sycophant for others to gain their favors. It is their self worth which is at stake. And if someone loses one's self worth, it is going to be uh, a very a blatant, consequence in terms of losing everything. Because your self worth is that reflects your total identity. And once it is lost, it's probable that you might get your position well settled up there out of your this attitude. But once you are out of this position, or let's say of this ambience, you are not going to be respected anywhere else.
Yeah.
Therefore, it's very important, and one has to deal with extra reasoning, extra logic, because if you go there and put your self worth at stake just to gain a favor, and that favor is not more than a monetary advantage, then you may earn money, but is not going to be a commitment for your entire life. So, even in this way, you are not going to satisfy your entire needs of what you're going to have throughout the life. Second important thing, which is also very, I think, experiencing and observable, that when someone behaves in this way, he not only loses his over importance in the eyes of other, but also loses his entire credibility outside of the office.
Yes.
In fact, this trend is very popular in the politics arena, where one politics politician comes in one particular party, and after he loses certain thing, or let's say the party loses his position
They
or
start
his
turning
particular,
coats.
he then takes a shift to the other party,
Yeah,
the
they
winning
become a
party.
turn. No, they become a turncoat.
Yes, so they become a turncoat in this way. So I mean, this is really very like a smudge on one's personality. A successful people would never have this attitude and conduct in their entire life. So first, we are willing to be successful, and at the end, we are not even dealing with this very important attributes of what makes successful person a successful, then I think we are going to do a blunder in life. So therefore, we need to be very uh, uh, pondering on this particular thing. Why we have to stop pleasing other, because it is directly costing your self worth, and with certain amount of money in your favor, which is not even permanent in nature, which is not going to be perpetuate forever. Second important thing we have discussed many a time, that is the value of time. When you keep saying people yes on every occasions, on every events, which means you are doing compromise with your own personal life. We
Yes.
all have our some important tasks to perform, that includes some sensitive responsibilities towards our own people. And it is not just sensitive responsibilities, it is those events which are also included in that, which we really like to do, which we really want to experience it. And when we come out with this very mindset of being always positive and assertive in saying yes to people on whatsoever they say, we are compromising on our parts. We are compromising on those things which we really don't want to happen to us. Really, for example, we find there's people who keep saying yes to other often finds himself to be compiled with uh, you can say a lot of stressed
Yes.
reason reasonably, because you have your own life, and in this life you want to do a certain things which you find is more amusing for you. For example, I want to play guitar when I'm free, and I really don't get free time for me, but this is my habit of playing guitar. And let's say if I acquire this very attitude of saying yes to everyone, then what is going to be the condition of my personal life is something which I will only know, right? And
Yes.
this kind of emotional torture which I will face is also like that, there is nothing as such. So we have to be very careful, on this very part. Before we say yes to people, we have to think twice. It is not just which ends here, there are several issues are associated with it. Your time is there at stake, your self-worth is there at stake. Moreover, people who often do that always find himself to be alone after they are lost and they are fired from a certain company,
Yes.
because they lose their credibility. They don't find then people to be cooperating with them, because they almost lose all the opportunities of the future. A person with prudent mind would never want to have a connection with such kind of personality who is flipping, who is vacillating in nature. Then what kind of image that you are creating in the eyes of other? That is something which you have to you know think about, which you have to be pondering about, right? So all these things combinedly you know indicate us that yes, it's always better to be assertive in saying no when it is important, when your personal importance uh, need to be recognized, right? Otherwise life becomes very difficult to live, because in this way we may make people happy, or ironically, even when we do this, it is basically found out that we end up hurting everyone. We end up you know giving a peevish displeasure to everyone. So this is a reality. The more you try to make people happy, it is possible the person is going to be upset with you. So all these things are very natural, and I think people must realize this thing before they acquire this very attitude in them and carry out with this conduct forever. Over to you.
And when a person become a yes man, they always face this situation, as you talked about, that you've always been saying yes, but there suppose there is something which you say no about, then this no will always be taken for, they will always say that why did you say no now, because you've always been a yes man. And this no, they will forget all those yes, right?
Hmm.
And they'll keep this no in mind, and this is
Right.
going to be very difficult for the person who is, or who has always been a yes man. Second thing is, for example, they know that they have gained a position because they have been bootlicking people. They have been they have always been with them, and they have always been trying to please them. But this person who has always done this, suppose they are with the somebody else, I mean, who are their very near and dear ones, and they find them uh, bootlegging other people. I think they will then lose their self-worth in their eyes, and they'll find this how this person reached there, and they will not be liking that person the way they used to, because somewhere they have got to know the reality, that what the real worth of this person is, right? Next thing we are going to talk about is, tell me, what's the need? Why do people find that they should start pleasing others? What's the need to please others? Is there really any need, or this is done just because they think this is the only possible options they have in their hands to climb the ladder of success?
As we have discussed that it is just that environment and ambience which is so you can say difficult to manage for some people, because these people come with their different mindsets, and when they find things are not according to them, and secondly they are not going to be respected if they put across their points in the same company for whatsoever reason, then there comes a situation for these people to even fight and flight, because when someone like us has fear of rejection, then it's very likely that we try to uh, protect our position at any cost, as that what happens largely in most of the MNCs and even in government offices. Even when you are a good performer and you have proved it now and then, but since there is a big lobby which is sitting at the higher position, and you are not coming to terms with their own ideas and their principle, you might face a rejection from them, and then your entire future possibility and your entire providential, you know uh, possibilities are going to be vanished forever. So this can be assumed that perhaps this fear of rejection is the reason for why people start ingratiating with others in order to gain favors. Because even if you are not willing to do so out of your rigid nature, that you cannot do at any cost, but when you find your colleagues, your peers in the same office, in the same ambience, are doing it voluntarily with all willingness, then you don't have any options left with you but to follow the entire, you know, you can say group. So therefore, the second things that comes in my mind, it is first the fear of rejection, and the second, the eagerness for getting approval are the reasons for why people are becoming so much like this, that even they know that this really takes a lot of time. This also costs a self worth at large. But just because of you need to get approval, you need you need to be recognized and acknowledged in a certain department for your better future, for your promotions, let's say, then you put your principles aside and continue to pursue yourself with the same rules as being followed by many in the same department. So these are the rules which, or these are the conditions which are circumstantial in nature, and one has to uh, compromise with their principles under these circumstances, right? As we have already talked about, that some people come from a very uh, financially weak background, and these people rarely get jobs in their life. They really work hard, they spend a lot of time. In fact, we have seen many people coming from outskirts, that their parents have sold out their entire legacy, their properties of ancestors, in order to raise their children high in their future, in their career. And when these children get these jobs in these government offices or the private offices, when they come and see the entire ambience, they really don't find suitable to them, because we have generally found out people coming from the lower background are more grounded towards moralistic values than the
Yes.
people living in elite section, because these elite sections are so called intellectual and highbrows, and they can put everything at stake for their own benefits. But these people coming from the lower backgrounds are very grounded, and they never have that privilege before in that way, because their entire bringing up as such was that they never were taught that they should be compromising with their own principles, because they are taught that if they want to go ahead in their life and want to really be acknowledged globally, then they have to stick to their own principles and values. And but when they come and see this altogether a different environment before them in a very formidable manner, then they really find themselves vulnerable, being susceptible to this. They are succumbed to this very temptations. You can call it temptations, you can call it uh, the necessity, you can call it the urgency for them. Because on the one hand, we have seen the parents of these children have spent a lot of money. They are overburdened with the debt to the banks to be paid. And so all these things, I mean, are reasons possibly which continue uh, to let the people suffer from this attitude, even when they are not willing to conduct themselves in this way. So these things, I think, are the major reasons possibly for which these people you know uh, try to settle themselves in these new environment and working places, even at the cost of their own principles. Because at the end of the day, once you get the salary in your month, that's what we rightly said, from the language of the middle class people, then all your sins are washed off. So
Yes.
things are seen in this way, and especially in India. So this is what is
So they
the
end
real
up saying
picture.
that okay, whatever it is, whether now we are putting the morals at stake, whether we are putting a self-esteem at stake, but at least we are getting the main money in our bank account, and
Absolutely.
that's enough,
This this
right?
this what this what happens usually.
Yeah. So generally, we find it difficult to go against the morals, because what happens generally when we are talking about people who are who come from very humble backgrounds, because they're raised with these values, they're raised with, they're raised with these principles, so always they always try to stick to them. But when they enter in this environment and they find that everybody is involved in this, then if they resist, they're the only one who's going to resist, and they find
Hmm.
that I'm the only one, and how can I change the whole environment? And they also find themselves involved in the same environment, so they find it quite difficult to get themselves out of it.
Right.
We've talked about what are the consequences, what people are likely to pay for if they are so much into people pleasing. We've also talked about why people feel so. But we haven't talked about how can people say no, because it's an art. Not everybody knows it. Uh,
Right.
Saying no without letting the person feel that they are being disregarded, right?
Hmm.
So how can people say no? Because saying no can improve so many areas of your life. For example, if I'm as we are very busy, right? We hardly get time to create our videos, as you already know, right? But now we have made it our habit, and we have made it a routine. But to be honest, we've got very little time, and when somebody comes and we somewhere try to compromise with this job of ours, I think we can never ever do this job. So we should be trying to develop this habit to say no, but in such a fashion that the people who is so who the people who are asking you to be available for them
Hmm.
don't feel disregarded.
Hmm.
So, how can this habit be developed? I mean, how can people improve their habit of saying no, so that the person being said so doesn't feel disregarded and neglected and ignored?
I think this task is not that much difficult. It requires a little bit discretion and more efforts. And if it is done with a proper, manner, I think the results could be produced as one is seeking for. But there has to be a system to achieve this very, lifestyle and the thought process. Because at the end of the day, it is us whom we have to fight against. So because you have to fight against your own personal, you know, uh, ideology, which sometimes supports you, or which sometimes comes as the biggest antagonistic to you, uh, and a hostile to you, right? So in this way we have to figure it out. First of all, now we have to enumerate a list, making it very easy. And how can we do that? Let's figure out all those things which really are getting pet peeve for us, or in a sense that it really causes a lot of stress and concern. It, in other word, tortures us a lot. So we have discussed a lot that in how many ways we are being tortured, but just because of we have compromised with an idea that at least at the end of the month we are going to be financially secured, then let it happen to us, and start ourselves as as someone, a subject, okay, for which you know anyone anything can do, right? So make a list of all these things. So first you will find that we have to regularly deal with this peace, this mental peace. If someone is not willing to go against their will, but circumstances are being created as such that they have to accept and they have to willingly do that, then it is their peace which is majorly affected. So this very peace, if has to be restored, I think action has to be taken from the same person. So then this becomes a reason for that person, as an impetus force, as a reason why he should not be doing it. So therefore I'm saying we have to find out all those reasons. So this is one reason. Second important thing we also talked about, that it is your worth which is also at stake. We need to evaluate this entire worth. what it means in the context of a person. Once people are properly taught about it and they are very well understood about it, I'm sure that they will at least try to take actions and try to mend their ways by going beyond the ability, because earlier they were very much binding to those things, such as the fear of losing job, such as the fear of not having a financial security in life. So when you understand the self-worth, we understand that yes, we need to protect it at any cost. And this gives us a little bit force, which really pushes us hard to come out and to fight against this very culture and fight against this environment. So this is the second way out, that we could use it as a tool, as an instrument to to invoke that energy, to invoke that kind of urgency of fighting against this environment, and learn to say no to the people. Third important thing, which is also not negligible in my opinion, is that why we cannot love learn to love the work we do. Sometimes we find that we are engaged in a certain task, but we are not happy with that. But just because of we want some money, financial security, we let ourselves to go with this, and let ourselves be in the perpetuation of suffering. But once we realize that there is something else which is only for us, and we are for that, then this very idea really gives us a very uh, push to accept it and to live the life in that way. So in this way we can abandon certain kind of lifestyle, we can abandon a certain kind of jobs where we are not satisfied, where our self worth is not being where our personal you know uh, aspect is not being respected, and many things are happening against our wills, right? So in this way we can tackle these things. So I think these are the things, according to me, if people are properly guided about, I believe that yes, they can move forward in this, and they can really be little bit bold in establishing their own principles. Why can't we more assertive in saying no to people is also the question. But trust me, I have read many books, and I have listened to many speakers. Most of them are successful. That this is just an opportunity for us. That how many ways we can say no to people without affecting their their overall individuality, right? So this is also a kind of art to deal with the situation. Moreover, when you practice saying no to people, you are trying to present your affirmation, which is highly respected and which is seen with full dignity by some section of people. In this way, you raise your worth in the eyes of other who are
Yeah.
really important, who are really successful in their life. These things are not, I think, uh, I mean, negligible. So I think it should be given a full attention. And if we treat ourselves in this way, and if we follow all these kinds of rules as a part of the course, I think somehow we can handle the situation. Over to you.
You know, I do not say no directly to people because this is very, very disregarding. What do is I never let myself be caught empty-handed. So you should always have something, and something which you are busy with. When you are busy with something, then I think people will not be disturbing you, because they know that it means you are already full. I mean, you've already up to your chin in work. So why would they be disturbing you? When they find that you have got nothing to do, then they would always be there to disturb your, they will somewhere, be disturbing your peace as well. The question arises, how people can break free from this habit of pleasing others. I mean, just people pleasing. how can they break free from this habit? Because it's not that easy as it seems, right? So if they really want to get out of it, if you really want to break free from it, then they should be following certain steps. I think first one would be, according to me, is to draw the line. They must know where to draw the line. When you do this, then they will certainly be realizing this person is not going to let anyone cross this particular limit, and they would then be withdrawing themselves from this particular kind of activity. Then you would also be realizing that I've said this, I've just drawn this line, and I would not be letting others cross this. Second thing is that people must always be maintaining certain degree of principles. I mean, they should have principle in their lives. Without principle, I think we will not be realizing where to say no and how to say no, and we would always be finding ourselves in this habit of pleasing others, right? So we have to prioritize certain things in a life. Can you shed some more light on the same? I mean, what things people be prioritizing so that they can break free from people pleasing kind of habit?
This is very noticeable. If someone undergoes a certain lifestyle where he knows that he's doing things which is absolutely against his nature, then what comes out as a suffering to them is this emotional suffering.
Yes.
Because when you say something to someone which you are not willing to do, and you are doing it just for a reason, a certain reason, as we have discussed a lot, then it is your emotional health that is going to be disturbed a lot. In other words, it is your peace which is going to be affected at large. So when someone realizes this very aspect and this very corner of this thing, I think many people could right away take some strong actions against it. It is very unfortunate that people have stopped talking about it, because these suffering are not demonstrated very easily, even in office, even at home. So one who suffers from it is basically uh, the one who perpetuates with this deplorable conditions without showing any sign to others until the collapse happens. So this emotional uh, as a target, I mean, that people becomes to other people, right? Then I think people may handle in this way. So since you said that what can be there for other people, so I said it's an emotional intelligence or emotional suffering that needs to be uh, I mean acknowledged here in this entire case. Okay, second important thing, let's assume we keep saying yes to everyone. In other words, what we are doing is that we are saying no to us on many occasions, on many events where we really want to be, but for some reasons we couldn't be just because we have committed to you for our availability on a certain given time. In this way, it causes you a lot of mental suffering too. These people really face or bear the brunt of it, because many a time it is seen that people who are in the habit of saying yes every single time, they have to miss all those important events in their life just because of they have to produce themselves before them, just for the only reason of that they have committed to them. Sometimes it is even seen that there is a birthday at home, but just because of you have given your commitment and you think your commitment can never be uh, you can say broken in any way, then you go and fulfill your commitment, even at the cost of your own happiness, even at the cost of our own kids' happiness, where our kids were wanting you to be there with them to celebrate the birthday, but just because of you have committed to someone and you are there with them. So these things are very noticeable, as I told you right from the beginning, and this has to be acknowledged well. So that's why many successful people say what is the best thing about being assertive is that people might find it bad to a certain thing or to a certain point, But as long as you are prioritizing your own benefits, you are prioritizing your own life, at least you are securing your mental health and your physical health, which is very important
And
for a
happiness
person.
as well.
You haven't, yes,
And happiness as well. When
yes,
you are,
happiness.
yeah, because
Yes,
when you are not being disturbed by others, you are very happy because you are not trading your time for money, right? Actually, what happens when you're pleasing people, just because of that monetary gains, you're trading
just
your
because of the
happiness.
monetary
You're trading
gains.
your happiness, right?
Right, right, right. So this is a very common and natural thing, I think, which needs a little bit efforts, and on a routine base, I think it could be completely eliminated, right? And third thing, which is also very interesting in this, that being assertive always mean to many people that to be rude to people,
Yeah,
and this what that brings a very unique habit in the people, especially those yes men, is that even when they are busy in their own task, something very important to them, but when they say no to people, they actually supplement their no with a note of sorry,
yeah,
which actually makes them somewhere down in the eyes of other. Therefore those assertive people say, if you really don't have time, then you can be more bold in saying no without you know I mean giving it with serving it with a note of sorry, because once you say sorry, you are serving as yourself to be subordinate to other.
yeah,
Secondly, you are disservicing to you in other ways too, because you are not acknowledging your own personal life and its importance and the times that is also fleeting. So you don't need to be sorry, especially when you say no to people, because it only reflects your weakness. It only reflects your you know your need of that person. And once the person sitting at the top realizes your this very nature, he becomes the most callous exploitative person. We have seen this in the capitalist world, isn't it? You go
yeah.
to any school, you go to any private college, you have to come to terms with the people and the higher authority, even when you don't like it, even when you know it's all wrong and it's all illegal and unlawful, but you have to protect your job, and you have to say to yes to them on any occasions. And when you say no, you have to just write two letters, I mean 2 pages letters of sorry for why you are not able to do that, right? So these are the conditions. And when this person, let's say I have seen one school, I'm not telling the name of the school, the principal realized the financial need of all those employees working in the same school. And once the principal realized it, that same principal become that exploitative machine. Any single time he was in need of those employees, he called them, and he put them to service for hours and hours, and letting them exceed their you know the very normal time for which they were appointed, because the principal got to know their weakness, their financial
They
need.
were in need of money.
Obviously, so this capitalist world works in that way. And it's very become it, it's very it becomes very easy for these principal to use these people in this way and abusing their own power. So I think we have to maintain this, and we don't need to let ourselves be as a subject to exploitation of other. And if we do that, even when we earn money, we need at the end of the day to make a evaluation and a kind of a complete measurement of which weighs more. It is our salary of the month, or the suffering that we are getting, especially in the process of earning that salary. So if whatever you find it more weightage, or having a more weightage, you need to support to that and follow that. That's what I have to say. Over to you.
And last but not the least, and now we talked about the how to say no and what are the ill effects of pleasing people, and why do why do people feel this way, this particular thing like pleasing others? Now we are going to talk about the benefits of letting go of approval seeking. Because generally, what people do is they always seek approvals of others. As a result, they start somewhere on doubting themselves, because when somebody else say that yes, you should be going with it, somewhere they are doubting themselves because they are not able to decide. So they are always seeking approvals, people's approvals. So now tell me, what are the benefits of letting go of approval seeking?
I can only say one thing in this regard, that people who really don't care about being approved or not, then people at least got this space in their life that they could really utilize in a certain way, where they could really nurture their overall personality and make the most out of it. I have seen many cases of rejections where, after this very blatant and humiliating rejections, you can see altogether a new face, or a new personality came out. It has happened you know I mean, many a times with the people. In this way, I find it even as a blessing. Rejection could be a blessing in this way. That's what we have to understand, rather than to be tying ourselves to unwarranted responsibilities which we are not willing to perform, but we have to do that just because of we want some financial security. So when we get this space in our life, we understand the essence of life, and we become little more free. We feel liberated. And I believe that ones who are liberated, I think the one is more capable enough of performing all those things, I think, which are not easily done by those who are, you know, tied to those mundane reasoning, tied to those mundane, responsibilities. So, if you are confident enough, even when you are not approved by a certain number of people, and you know that it is just because of you were not, you know, coming to terms with their own instructions and the rules as they were laid down by them, you must be thanking to them for rejecting you for those reasons. At least you are going to be lauded by many other people, if not in that field, at least out of that field, out of that particular office, because there is a good section of people who really realize and acknowledge the true value of life, the true personality, the trustworthy personality. So one who comes out and presents his own, you know, you is image, you know, and project himself in such a way where it seems to be undaunting. Whatsoever comes out as a challenge, then it is well respected. And we have seen the stories of many successful people. They emerged successful only after encountering with many of such obstacles, and this is one of those obstacles. I believe that one particular office cannot be a future determining force at all. So
Yes.
if one rejections in one office on any occasion for any of the reason, I think cannot be the life. You cannot be a end of your life. And that's what we have to understand it. Once we understand this very nectar of life, that someone's rejections cannot be an end to your life, then we find that we have got new wings, and there is no surveillance on us, there is no such suppression and oppression on us, which really tortures us and which binds us to perform this and limit our abilities. I always find that if you are working under certain regressive conditions, which only regresses you in some or other ways, they are only limiting your abilities in totality. And I think one must try to see this very nature of offices and the working place. Now people are becoming more aware of these kinds of culture as it is growing. And as we have seen, many people in last 10 to 15 years have left their very well established jobs of some high income in abroad, and getting settled and getting, back in India for the job purposes, because they didn't find the mind peace there, because the tranquility what you know affected. So these things are being realized and people are taking actions against it. And one who understands the value of one's peace, I think, is the one can take any challenges and can go to it any end and say no to any people if it comes across in his way. Over to you.
And once a person frees themselves from this approval seeking kind of nature, and they will be feeling a lot of confidence, because now they understand that yes, now they can do the things on their own, they can take the decisions on their own, and they can they are not actually going to other people to seek their approval. Second thing, their mental condition is going to be good, right? Peace will be there, and at the same time they can also see professional and personal growth. I know it'll be exponential growth actually,
Right.
because somewhere now they have started believing themselves, they have stopped doubting themselves. And this is why they have realized that they have got the potential, they have got the skills, and they are made of all those they've got all those skills which other people have, and they can better themselves if
Right.
they have started putting faith in themselves, right? So this is what we wanted to talk about. If we stop pleasing people, we can lead a very happy life. We will be confident, we will be mentally sound. Mentally sound in the sense that there will be no mental trauma, there will be no mental turmoil, and we will be at peace. And I think the most important thing in this world is to be at peace. I think
Right.
people may have some goals like making a lot of money, but ultimately people wants to be happy. And I think this is the only thing which is going to give them a lot of happiness, right?
Right.
And they would realize their self-worth, the most important thing. People must know the self-worth. They should not be putting it at stake, because people maybe there may be difference in people's status, but everybody has their own self-respect, their
Right.
own worth, and that is not going to be interchangeable, right? You cannot
Right.
exchange your self-worth with money, because that
Right.
is completely different. So this is what we wanted to talk about. So why people should stop pleasing others, we have already talked about. And once they start practicing all these things, they would be finding that yes, it is really very important for people to stop pleasing others, and they should start pleasing them,
Right.
right? They should be giving themselves a lot of opportunities to be happy. They should be giving themselves a lot of reasons to be happy. And this is what the life is all about.
Right.
Now I'm taking a leave, and we will be coming up with the other interesting episodes. Till then, take care.
Connect. Bye.
Right.